All right, guys, welcome back to the Low Carb Consultant Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ben Guiles, a diet educator, family man, and carnivore diet creator known for keeping it real. Ben lives in Pennsylvania with his family and shares practical, honest content about what works, what doesn't, and how to live carnivore in cost-effective, realistic ways. He doesn't shy away from the downsides either, letting people know about the pitfalls, the challenges, and how to make real progress without all the hype. So Ben, man, it's a pleasure to finally meet you, and thanks so much for taking the time and coming on.
Dude, I'm so happy to be here. Like the fact that you even reached out to me and had me on the podcast, I was like, "Oh, let's do it." Like I could talk for hours about all this stuff. Like it's definitely a passion of mine, so I'm just happy to be here.
Me too, and I'm glad you took me up on the invite. Like I was saying, I came across your profile on Instagram. You have great content, good messaging, and I was like, I just got to reach out to this guy. So great to have you on, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Maybe before we get into all the carnivore stuff, for some of the listeners who may not be as familiar with you as I am, could you give some of the listeners just a real brief background on yourself and maybe what even took you down the carnivore route?
Yeah, so quick background, I was not always a carnivore diet guy or influencer by any means. But I've always kind of been in the video space. I was in a touring rock and roll band for 13 years called the Small Town Titans. I used to drink my face off and smoke cigarettes and do all the rock and roll shit, you know? So that was like where that was the most of my adult life, really, was doing that. And I stepped away from that to be a family man. I'm married with 2 kids, and you can't be on the road in a rock and roll band all the time when you want to raise a family. So I stepped away from that, and I started a media business and started doing video. And what got me into the carnivore diet was a video that I saw with Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about his daughter Michaela.
Yeah.
And I had always been interested in, being fit, being healthy, those kind of things, even though I didn't exercise all the best healthy habits in my past. It was always something that I had been interested in. So I saw this video and I was like, huh, I never heard of that. That is the craziest thing. But all the anecdotes that he was presenting were just so phenomenal that I was like, let me maybe do some research here and see what's going on with this. I can't imagine you can just eat meat and eggs all the time. And went down the rabbit hole and decided, I was like, hey, like I'm not sick or fat, but I don't want to get any of these crazy illnesses that a lot of other people suffer with. So maybe I can just start eating meat every day. I love meat, so it kind of fell. It was a happy accident. I started doing it, and it sucked at first, real bad. Like you go through that whole keto flu kind of thing.
Totally.
Hitting the bathroom, dude. But then this amazing thing happened where, like, for me, it was about a week in, and I just started to feel better than I had ever felt before. And I was hooked ever since then. And I've kind of yo-yoed, gone on and off of it
Sure.
for the past 2 years. But I know for a fact that I am at my best as a human being when I am eating on the carnivore diet. And that is just something that it just speaks volumes to me, because I believe that most people don't know what it's like to feel good. And they're just in pain and sick and gaining weight, and they just never saw this other side. And I'm just like, man, there's if you try it, if you got nothing else to do, like give it a go, because it's working wonders for me and hundreds of thousands of other people. And I just started making videos sharing my experiences with it, and now we're here.
Yeah, very cool. And a couple things there. So this was when you found that Jordan Peterson video. This was a couple years ago. So you've kind of been doing carnivore-ish for a couple years now?
Yeah. So I'm almost 2 years in. I forget exactly, but I would say I'd been pretty prominent with it for about 2 years now, over a year for sure. But yeah,
Interesting. And
yeah.
so you weren't necessarily dealing with a ton of, because like I said, I saw that Jordan Peterson clip too, and I've seen tons of clips on Michaela Peterson talking about all the crazy issues that she was dealing with from when she was a child all the way up till when she was in, I think, college, getting like multiple like joint replacements because her inflammation was so bad, her arthritis is so bad. I think she's had like knee and ankle and hip replacements, like pretty crazy for just like a young girl.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So you weren't really dealing with a lot of that. You were just like, hey, this sounds interesting. I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sick, I'm not in pain or anything. I mean, outside of the normal pain, but I was like, let me just try it. I've always been into like optimization
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I was like, let me just try it. And then this magical thing happened. And I was like, all right, well, then this is just, if I can figure out how to live this way without breaking the bank, I'm going to do it. And that's when I started looking around. I was like, oh, what's this? What's the best cut of meat that I can get and make steaks out of that's not going to be like this crazy price of a ribeye? And I stumbled upon the chuck roll. Somebody else had made a video about cutting the chuck roll up. And I was like, I wonder if you can just slice that into steaks. And I did it and it worked for me. And I made that one video just out of the blue. My first ever carnivore diet video got like 16 million views on TikTok. And then I was like, okay, I should probably continue to make content and share this because clearly there's a need. People don't know about it. And yeah.
How that's so awesome. So what were, just out of curiosity, what were you eating before carnivore? Was it just like were you on any sort of diet? Was it just basic like kind of standard American-ish or nothing in
Yeah.
particular?
No, I would eat anything, literally. Like you could put lasagna in front of me and I'd mow that down. And I was known as the garbage disposal in my family because we would make dinners, everybody would fill their plate, eat part of it, and then just shove the rest of it to me. And I was just eating.
Oh my gosh, that's so
It didn't
funny.
matter what it was. I'd eat ice cream, cookies, pasta, you name it. It was being eaten by me.
So when you went carnivore, I think you said about a week and a half in, that's when you started to notice, you were feeling different. What was
Mhm.
what was like the biggest was that the biggest change that you noticed, or was it anything else, or was it just mainly like the mental side of things?
It was mainly the mental side of things, but the first thing I noticed was I was waking up in the morning without like immediately trying to go get caffeine. And that was I was like, "Huh, like I am strangely awake. This is kind of cool. I wonder if it's because of the diet." And I believe it was because every time I fall off the diet, I start to struggle again and then I get back on and I just feel better. But, for me, I struggle with ADHD.
Mhm.
I was diagnosed as an adult. I thought I was a crazy person for, like, most of my life. But when I got diagnosed, it was kind of like an epiphany. I was like, "Oh, okay." Uh, and I noticed on the carnivore diet that this mental clarity started to happen for me, and with ADHD, you just lose focus, you see squirrels everywhere, and you wanna chase them. But when I got on carnivore, I felt so much more focused and clear, and um, it was just it was incredible. I don't know how to say it because if you put a puzzle in front of me when I'm not on carnivore, I will do it slower than when I'm on carnivore. It's you just have this clarity of like, oh, I used to not know what to do in this situation. Now it's like painfully clear what I need to do. And that was kind of the moment for me that was like, oh, this might need to be a lifestyle that I try to adhere to versus a short-term fix or a tool.
100%.
Um,
And
yeah, because it was unlike anything.
I got to tell you this, I know exactly how you feel. So I was diagnosed with ADD and ADHD in elementary school. So I was put on Ritalin when I was like in the first grade. I took Ritalin all the way up into high school. I was put on Adderall, and then I took Adderall all the way up until I was 30. I'm 40 now. Basically I was medicated like the majority of my life. And I was just talking about this on a podcast with Casey Ruff. I was on his podcast. It's called Boundless Body Radio. And basically, what I was saying was when I found like ketogenic diets essentially, it it opened up my mind and allowed me to basically like I felt like I was able to tap into parts of my brain that were never available to me. Like, and it was because of the way that I ate just all throughout, my childhood, adulthood, and all that type of stuff. But even when you're on like Adderall or Ritalin, that's just a stimulant. It doesn't give you the effects of a ketogenic diet. And once I went keto, that was the big thing I noticed. Like, oh my gosh, like this is on another level.
Yeah, you're freaking smarter.
Totally,
Like, I
100%.
don't know how else to say
Yeah,
it. Like, when you eat a healthy diet that's high in fats and lower in carbohydrates, like, you become a smarter person, and I will die on that hill. If anybody says otherwise, I'll be like, "I would disagree,"
I I would no, no, no. I would die with you then because it's
Yeah.
100% it's 100% a fact. It's just like ketones are with the way your brain operates off ketones, it's a completely different level. I did want to touch on because I know a lot of your content. It's basically like some of it's like carnivore on a budget, which I love. Um, but going into some of the downsides, and I wanted to talk about this because one of the posts that you made, it was a really open, honest, and transparent post about like, yo, guys, I have fallen off the map on the carnivore diet for like a week or so. I think you said in the video, I'm back on,
Mhm.
but I just wanted to be honest with you guys. And I honestly, I was one of those people that really appreciated a post like this. I didn't think you were at all like a fraud or anything. I'm like, dude, this guy's just being honest. And guess what? We're all human beings. We're all
Yeah,
human beings. We all make mistakes. And it's just like, that's not even, in my opinion, that's not even a mistake. That's just called life, man.
yeah.
But I was curious. So going back to maybe let's call it like a little carnivore slip up. What have you noticed being on the diet for the past couple years being like the biggest downside?
The downside that I've noticed, probably just the heaviest, is when you get off the carnivore diet, you go back to the way you felt, but it feels worse. So,
Mm,
like, and that's what I was saying, where I was like, "Man, there's so many people out there that I don't think they know what it's like to feel good." I know what it's like to feel good, and then when you go back to feeling bad, you're like, "Holy shit, like, what was I doing?" So, if you're eating pasta and cereal and sugary stuff and you switch to carnivore, you'll notice a change, but then if you fall off, you will notice the fall hits harder. And that's, I think, the biggest thing. And it's like you feel worse. You'll probably get like a headache. You'll be hitting the bathroom again. You'll be struggling to think, struggling to sleep. Your anxiety or your depression or whatever, if you had that, will come back. And it's just, that's the biggest downfall. Once you feel good and you go back, you feel worse than you did before.
yeah, that's really interesting that you said that. And another thing that you said, and you also were touching on this a little bit earlier. What is interesting is most people don't know what it's like to feel good. And going back to
Hmm.
like my experience, like 30 years being on Adderall or a combination of Ritalin and Adderall, and then getting into like a ketogenic diet, like in my early to mid 30s. Um, Basically, what I realized was, wow, I was essentially living the majority of my life in like with a film or a filter or a fog in my brain. And I was like,
Hmm.
everyone else that doesn't eat like this, or not necessarily like this exactly, right? But like most people are living like that. And when you're looking at like the statistics of the US and it's like 60, 70% of the population is obese, and it's probably because they're eating a very highly processed diet. Everybody, when you how think about it, like this is crazy when I just like think about this and say it out loud. Everybody is walking around and operating on a day-to-day level with that fog going on. Not even
Yep.
not even giving not even getting to like true self-optimization, if you want to call it that. But that's what's wild to me. It's just like most people are just operating at a 5 out of a 10 or a 6 out of a 10 all day.
Yeah. All day long. And nobody knows it, and they don't know any different.
Exactly.
And it's like, and it's I mean, I don't go out there and try to thump the carnivore diet like all of my friends need to do it, my family needs to do it, obviously. no one in my family does carnivore but me, but like they would operate better if they did. And I just truly believe that. And I always like to tell people, like, if you're operating on a standard American diet and you're trying to like lose weight or improve your health or your life in some way, and you've tried everything, the carnivore diet is your next try.
Yeah.
Because if you have nothing left, just try it for 3 weeks and see how you feel. Because, yeah, you're right. The American population, especially, is full of carbs and sugars and gluten and processed everything. And it's just like, man, you don't know any different until you try something that has none of that.
Yeah.
Like,
It's crazy.
and
It's just crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, and like you said, like, most of us just don't know any better because, like, we've only lived through one perspective, and it's just like, we've just eaten what we've always eaten, but we don't know that there's a completely different view on life you can live if you just change what you eat, and that's just wild to me. Everyone's operating 5 out of a 10.
yep.
Um, I had another question in terms of just, like, maybe slip-ups, going back to that one video I was talking about. So, are you the type of guy, like, when, like, let's say you're on the diet, things are going well. And I say this because this happens to me too, where, like, I'll have a good run, and then, something comes up where it's like, let's say it's a birthday, it's a wedding, it's an event, we're going to the movies, whatever. And we were talking about this before we started recording, and, like, going to the movies with the family, and we're getting popcorn, and, the kids are getting Sour Patch Kids. And in that situation, to me, that's when I'm kind of like draw the line and say, like, okay, like, this is where I'm going to enjoy myself, have a little bit of food or have some treats, snacks, whatever you want to call it. But then I kind of make the deal with myself, like, okay, this is the trade-off I'm making. Like, I know in this moment I'm going to enjoy my time with my family. We're going to watch this movie at the theater, and I'm going to have this popcorn or candy, whatever it is. And then boom, I'm back on track tomorrow. Is that something, and I know everyone's a little bit different here, that's why I'm asking you. Is that something that would kind of like derail you? Are you the type of person that's like a moderator or an abstainer? Like, do you have to stay on track? Will one thing kind of throw everything off? Like, how do you navigate that situation?
So I am not a moderator. I kind of like need to stay on track.
Got it.
However, it's risky business for me because I will not deprive myself of the pleasures of life.
For sure.
So on date night when I go out with my wife, she has a glass of wine, I have a glass of wine. It's something that I enjoy. It enhances my life. That's our special time together. We enjoy doing that. I do not say no to that stuff. Same with birthdays and weddings, like you said. If there's cake there and everybody's having cake and I just feel like having cake, I'll allow myself that cake. So I don't hold myself to an unnecessarily high standard with it because I already know that like 90% of my diet is just pretty much steak and eggs or any kind of meat and eggs. The risky part for me is when you have cake or ice cream or any kind of carbs, the cravings that you had gotten rid of
Yeah.
for all that stuff come roaring back. So you're going, oh man, I'm gonna give myself this bowl of ice cream because I've earned it.
Mm-hmm.
And half the time you do, sometimes you don't. But when I have that bowl of ice cream, 30 minutes later, I'm like, well, Cheez-Its maybe? Fucking Cheez-Its, man. The Cheez-Its have fucked me over so many times because they are so delicious and I hate them. But yeah, and then that's what happened to me when I made that honest video. I had stumbled.
Mm-hmm.
Stress in life kind of just got to me, and I start reaching for a comfort thing, and I'm telling myself, "Oh, I deserve it this time. I'll get back on it tomorrow." And I fully mean that when I tell myself that. But then tomorrow comes, and if I don't have my carnivore diet stuff readily available, I will reach for convenience again. And that's what happened. I forgot to defrost my bag of steaks the night before. So when I
Ah,
woke up, everything was frozen brick solid. And I was like, oh, I guess you know what? I'm gonna have a bowl of cereal. Screw it. I'll get back on it. And then you get home that night and you're like, oh, well, I'll just,
steaks are
I'll
still
have some of this
frozen. Yeah.
pasta. Yeah. Or just like they've defrosted, but then I'm like, oh, all right, I have my steak. And I was guilty of this. My wife made an awesome pasta dish. I topped my steak with pasta. And then, you know, it's just
Yeah.
these little gives that you just
Yeah.
continuously give yourself. And then a week into that is when I was like, damn, I've completely ditched the diet. And I stopped making content about it because I wasn't on it. I wasn't living that. So it felt weird to me to go out there and make a carnivore diet video when I wasn't on carnivore. And so I made that video to be honest about it because we're all human. We're all going to screw up. You're going to screw up. I'm going to screw up. Any carnivore diet coach out there screws up, whether they tell you they do or not. So I was just like, you know what? I want to be the honest guy. I want to be the one that just tells everybody how it is. And it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Oh, that's a great way to say it. And and that's interesting that you say that because I was going to make a YouTube video about this, and it's about I was going to call it scheduling out your cheat day. And
Mm,
I have utilized this over the years, and it's really helped me out. And the reason why I want to say this is for some of the listeners that are going to be listening to this is those life events happen. You say like the date night with your wife where you want to enjoy the time. You don't want to be adhere to some strict way of eating, birthdays, weddings, whatever the case is. It's like, yeah, we have these periods of celebration in our life where we want to enjoy them. And so, what I was going to make the YouTube video about, and I'm saying this because I want to get your 2 cents to see if this is something that you would ever implement, but scheduling out the cheat of like, okay, our date night is 3 Thursdays away or 3 Fridays away, right? I'm gonna be strict carnivore until date night. And the deal that I make with myself is one, I've got food to make the next day, so I defrost whatever meat or steak that I've got, or I have food already, ready to go, that I can get back on track the next day. And two, I get back on track the next day.
mhm.
I make the commitment to myself, like, okay, like I'm spending all this time staying on track, and I'm going to feel amazing. I'm going to enjoy myself. And the reason why I say make the deal with yourself to get on track the next day, because I feel where a lot of the guilt or the shame and like where you start feeling crappy about yourself comes on is it comes on after the cheat when you don't get back on track, and then you didn't do what you say you wanted to do, and when you know you
Yep.
should have done it, and you kind of break the promise to yourself, and that's where like the increase in guilt comes up. But if you're prepared and
Yeah.
you schedule out the cheat and like you're like, I'm doing this thing this month, I'm doing that thing the next month, I'm doing this thing in December, that kind of gives you those little milestones throughout the year to do the thing that you want to do, but the deal is that you get back on track and you have food ready to go. I'm just curious to see
Mhm.
before I make that video if that's something that you think even makes sense.
I think it makes perfect sense, and I think there's a bunch of different personalities out there that would either benefit from that or not benefit from that. Everybody is like completely different, and everybody has different preferences. But yeah, scheduling out your cheat day and knowing like, hey, this is the day I'm going to do this gives you something to look forward to,
Hmm.
and you just have to, you know, stick with it until that day and then get right back on it afterwards, but allow yourself to indulge. And scheduling is something that I think is perfectly viable for a lot of people. um However, in my situation, a lot of the times where I have something off the diet are completely spontaneous.
Ah, gotcha.
So my view on it is, as long as I eat like 90% meat and eggs, I can have something here or there. And that is a decision that I make for myself. I won't make that decision or give that advice to anybody else. The reason that I make that decision for myself is because I'm not sick and I'm not fat.
Mm,
If I was sick or fat, and wanted to change those, I would stay strict carnivore even through the toughest of temptations because it's that beneficial. But once you do it and you get your body into the shape that you want, then I kind of just start being a little bit more free with it and allowing myself the spontaneous thing here or there because I'm always in meetings or doing events or trainings or something, and something might come up, and it just happens from time to time. I think the biggest thing for me is controlling how much you cheat.
Mm.
because I have a very addictive personality. And instead of eating a little bit of mac and cheese, I'll be like, fill that bowl up.
Yeah.
So like that's my problem. And I think that's just something that I got to get better at is just not cheating to the max.
Well, you just made me think of a really good caveat for that YouTube video I want to make. And here's the caveat. So let's say, because you're right, you are in a completely different situation. If someone has, let's say it's like 50 or 100 pounds to lose, and you're not at your goal weight, I don't want to use the word earn it, but technically you kind of haven't earned it yet. Like, don't don't be cheating. Don't be cheating all the time if you're not at your goal weight. Like,
Right.
make the cheat when you get to your goal and then get back on track if that's how you want to do it. Um, and then going
Yeah, I'll say it. I'll say it. If you're sick or fat, you don't deserve it. Get your shit together.
Yeah, exactly. But there's another thing that you said that's interesting, and you laid out like the 90-10 rule or like the 80-20. And I think for like someone like once you get down and you have earned it, let's say, and you're maybe like at a position where you're at where you're not overweight, you're not sick, you just like to feel good and that's why you eat the way that
Mhm.
you eat. I mean, technically if you really want to do you could get away with doing like the 80-20 principle where it's like the majority of the week you're staying on track with carnivore and then you're cheating on a Saturday or whatever the case is and then you're back on track with Sunday. Like you could, as long as you don't allow yourself or you have like the willpower to not eat eat that full bowl of mac and cheese or eat the mac and cheese and then the cheese that's after it. As long as you get back on
Yeah.
track, I guess there's a little bit of self-awareness that goes into it, but it's like that is somewhat doable. Now, I understand too, though, some people have food addictions, sugar addictions, and that just
Yeah.
doesn't work. So I guess maybe the other caveat would be like having a little bit of self-awareness around how you have behaved in the past and your relationship with food. And if that doesn't work and being strict is the way that you got to do it the majority of the time, then maybe that's just what you got to do in order to feel the way you want to feel.
Yeah, yeah, you have to structure your diet or your plan in a way that, like, treat yourself like your friend. Like, do I trust myself to stick to this structure, or am I setting myself up to fail? Because if you're, really in need of getting healthy or losing a lot of weight, maybe don't allow yourself those cheat days because they are very slippery.
Mm,
One cheat day leads to two, and then you're a week out, and then you say screw it to the whole diet in general. So like it depends on your goals. If you're decently happy with the way you are, you can have a cheat day here or there. And if you know that you're disciplined enough to get back on it, then it's okay. If you're at a point where you're like, bro, I'm 350
yeah,
and I have autoimmune diseases, like I've tried everything.
yeah,
Try strict first. No cheat days. Don't even schedule them in, and you're just gonna have to say no every time and be that annoying friend that's like, "Oh, I can't come over for dinner unless you have steak." This it's definitely definitely dependent on the person and their state
a hundred
for
percent.
what they can do with cheat days. And I'm just lucky enough to be able to do it every now and then, and I'm not wearing that like a badge of honor. But yeah, if I was unhealthy, I would stay strict carnivore 100% of the time.
Well, and then the last thing on this, because I do want to talk about carnivore on a budget, but I think one of the things that goes into my mind is when I do cheat on my diet, I want to get back to feeling the way I want to feel as quickly as
Mhm.
possible. And what I know is that if I continue to cheat, it's just going to elongate me not getting there, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like when I cheat, I'm almost like, all right, it's a Saturday, go out to the movies, have popcorn, candy, ice cream, whatever the case is. Sunday, I'm back on track, because I want to
Right.
get back to feeling the way that I felt as quickly as possible. And I remind myself of that. That's kind of how I go about it. Um, Carnivore on a budget. So, and
Yeah.
the reason why I want to bring this up,
Real quick though, can
sure,
I can
sure.
I add one thing to what you're
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely.
This is something that I've noticed about myself, and it has to do with cheating. When you cheat on the carnivore diet, you have to make it worth it.
Mm,
So, for instance, I hate going to the gym, but I do it. When I'm done, I've never regretted going to the gym ever in my life. I love pasta and lasagna. I've always regretted having it when I've done it. I love red wine. If I have just a little bit with my wife, I don't regret it. And that's because that cheat enhanced my life and built a relationship and was a part of the experience that I had. If you're cheating just to sit on the couch and like have a chocolate bar and it's not like enhancing your life in any other way, then you're just cheating for a mouth pleasure. Cheating, I think, has to there like put the rule in place that like if I cheat, it has to like benefit me in a relationship or an experience that I'm having. That's when cheating, I think, is okay.
That is that is great advice. And I would 100% agree with you on that one. And that goes back to like birthdays, celebrations, like if you're at some sort of an experience, yeah, if it's going to enhance the experience, like for sure do it. But like you said, if it's just like it's Sunday and you're sitting on the couch watching football and you're just like eating chips because it's maybe a cheat day or you want to call it a cheat day, but you're just being a lazy fat ass, then like, yeah,
Yeah.
man, like you're right. I agree with you. It's not worth it to deal with the repercussions. You might as well save it when you're doing something, an experience that's gonna make it worth it.
Yeah. If it's your first time in Chicago and you've never had a deep dish pizza, that's an experience.
Yeah.
That's not sitting at home and let me have some chips because.
100%. Well said. Well said. I'm glad you stopped me there because that's a good one. Um, so carnivore on a budget. What are
Mhm.
your top tips for doing carnivore while on a budget without compromising maybe the quality of the food, the meat, whatever the case is?
So the first thing I would tell anybody is figure out your preference of eating. And I say that because everybody makes fun of me for cutting the chuck roll that I get into steaks instead of just doing what everybody else does with it, which is they roast it, they pull it apart, they make pot roasts, whatever. I found out the hard way from that. I did that and I meal prepped it and I put it in the fridge and I had a couple of steaks and I noticed that I always reached for a steak no matter what. And then that pot roast or that chuck roast just kind of stuck in my fridge and eventually went bad
Yeah.
because I was always reaching for steaks. And when I would eat the chuck roast, like in a bowl of just meat and salt and stuff, I if I ate too much or how much I felt like I needed to eat because I was still hungry, I would always feel sick after that.
Mm,
So I narrowed it down through trial and error that like the steak format, a slab of meat is what does best for me. So figure out what you like to eat and then just double down on that. And if you like variety, figure out a bunch of things that you like to eat and then make sure you have those with you. So that's number one, eating on a budget. If you prefer steaks like me, the chuck roll is the best way to eat fatty steaks for a quarter the price of ribeye. And I started making those videos, and that was where when realized like all the comment section was like, "Oh my god, this is a crazy deal. The carnivore diet is so
mm.
expensive." But it's really not if you do it the right way. Ground beef, eggs, chuck roasts. That's probably the cheapest way that I do it. I don't fuck around with all kind of supplements or all kind of ingredients and all this stuff. And when you do carnivore right and you're doing it rather strictly, you're not going out to the grocery store and buying 17 different ingredients for one dish.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how many times I went out and got an onion, used half of it, and then the other half of the onion went bad
Sat in the fridge.
before I used it again.
Yeah.
And that goes with every ingredient. Like, I got spices in my cabinet that have been in there for 3 years. And
Yeah.
it's just like I bought that once for a dish 2 years ago, and it's just still sitting there. So you save so much money actually because you're not getting anything else. Like meat feels expensive, but it's so much more satiating than all the other stuff that if you just cut that out, you eat less of one thing. Like I eat 2 meals a day. I have a steak and 4 eggs for breakfast and a steak and 4 eggs for dinner. and, cost me $450 a month for myself, and I eat a lot. So, I mean, my steaks are pretty big.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people's grocery budget is pretty wild, and they think that it's like how many times have you gone to Sheetz or McDonald's or all this other stuff? Like add up how much you've actually eaten in the month, and then your grocery budget doesn't seem that bad.
I was gonna ask you a question on eating like the same type of steak over and over and over again, because I'm sure you get some comments around, oh my gosh, the carnivore diet, or maybe there's no that could, and I'm saying this because this is what I've typically seen is people saying, oh, I just can't eat the same thing over and over and over again. Now, I over time have felt, especially if you are doing the carnivore diet, or like right now, I mean, I eat the same thing for lunch every single day. I eat the same thing. My dinner changes up, but mostly for lunch, Monday through Friday, I'm eating the same thing. And it makes my life so simple just knowing what I'm going to eat. I don't have to think about what I'm going to cook, all those types of things. But for some of the people that are out there that are maybe commenting to you and saying like, how do you eat the same thing over and over again? Do you ever get bored? Like, what are your thoughts on that? How do you typically respond to people like that?
So my answer to that would be no, I don't get bored. I actually look forward to having the same single thing every single day. And I know that that takes a special kind of person to feel that way. My wife cannot do that. She loves variety.
My wife,
So
the
it's
same.
just,
Yeah.
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 So in that sense, the carnivore diet's just not for everybody. But if like I keep saying, if you're sick or fat, like just try it. You can get over the variety in order to improve your health and well-being for a little bit. Um, but yeah, eating the same thing every day is
It's
something
liberating. I
I
feel like
just
it's
don't have a
liberating.
problem with. Yeah, you don't have to think about it. You just wake up in the morning and you're like, all right, let me make my breakfast. I know how to do it. It's dumb simple to make,
Yeah.
and then you have the same thing at dinner. You improve your workflow. You just get better at all the little parts of preparing it, and it becomes your thing. And I've grown very fond of just eating meat and eggs. I love simplicity,
Yeah.
so it's the best.
I'm the same, and I'm the same in that way too. Like I like my meals to be simple, effective, and efficient, and I don't mind eating the same thing over and over and over again. And this kind of leads me into my next question because you were talking about your wife, who's similar to my wife. I do all the meal prep in the house. On Sunday, I meal prep. I put on my Instagram stories like I'm grilling, I'm cooking in the kitchen all day long. I cook her food, our kids' food, my food for the week. I'm a big meal prepper. But she needs variety. She is like the opposite of me. She cannot eat the same thing over and over and over again. So, how do you balance like the family side of things, kids, cooking, even the budget with
Yeah.
maintaining carnivore meals, especially when maybe not everyone in the house eats the same way that you do?
Yeah, so that is a very good question, and it's one of the biggest struggles. I'm not
Mm,
gonna lie to you, and I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Hey, I got this all figured out." But I will tell you about some things that we've noticed and improvements that we've made. So I'm on carnivore. Nobody else in my family is. We typically choose a meat to make for dinner, and that is the main course, right? So if we're having ground beef on taco night, we do Taco Tuesday. I make the ground beef. I eat the ground beef and a few eggs, and then the ground beef that's there is just goes in a tortilla with whatever else they want. And we just kind of keep repeating that same process where it's like, okay, so we want to have chicken tonight. Cool. Make the chicken. I eat the chicken and maybe some eggs,
mm.
and then they have the chicken with whatever sides they want, and that can be frozen vegetables, mashed potatoes, any kind of thing. We pretty much just set it up where the meat that we're making is the main course, and then everybody else in the family can kind of add sides to it. And my wife will also just every now and then make a one pot meal of something that they can have, and they enjoy all of that, and then I just make steak and eggs because it's really simple to make steak and eggs.
Oh,
If you have a family, you just have to almost make 2 dinners sometimes or just split it up properly, but, like, choosing a meat as the main course and then letting them add whatever sides they want has been working.
Interesting. Yeah, we're kind of the same way. I'll operate the same way. Like on usually after the week on a Friday, we'll grill something up, whether it's, maybe some meat or we'll do like tacos a lot or put some shrimp on the barbecue and do the whole taco thing. But you can find a way to like eat carnivore doing that. Like I don't necessarily have to have like the tortillas or whatever the case is. You can find a way to make it work. It just takes a little bit of work, you know?
Yeah, it does. You're cooking at home, which a lot of people just don't even do because it takes a lot of work. There's no way around that. If you're going to eat healthy, you have to have some level of preparing food at home and learn to enjoy it and figure out how it works in your family. Because I mean, you can a million people can probably prove me wrong on this, but if you're getting prepackaged frozen stuff, it's it's processed like most of the
Oh
time.
yeah.
You can probably find stuff healthy, but like the best way to make sure you know what you're getting in your body is to cook at home.
Oh, oh, dude, I was talking to, so I had Maria Emmerich on the podcast, and I don't know if you're familiar with her at all, but
Mhm.
she's like, she makes all, I think she's written like 20 different books on keto recipes, carnivore recipes, low carb recipes, and you make all and we were talking about, just cooking at home. Even if you're not carnivore, if people just started cooking their own food rather than going out to dinner, ordering DoorDash or Uber Eats and getting some crap food that's cooked in a bunch of crap with a whole bunch of ingredients that, to be honest with you, you don't really know what's in there to make the food taste good. It's going to be
Right.
probably going to have a bunch of like MSG, seed oils, and a whole bunch of other shit. Like, if you just start cooking your own food at home, you will, by default, become healthier and probably just lose weight, even if it wasn't carnivore.
Absolutely. If you just eat whole foods if you go get
Yeah,
vegetables and meats and what like anything that's real food, like you're going to be healthier. You will see a lot of the same benefits as you would on the carnivore diet just by eating whole foods. And a lot of people, will argue that like, yeah, that's actually the best way to go. And I'm like, yeah, like do that. I just prefer eating meat and eggs because that's why I feel best.
100%. I kind of
Yeah.
wanted to go back into not necessarily like the family dynamic, but we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Cheating on at an event or when an experience, right?
Mhm.
How do you deal with cravings or maybe like social pressures when you are dining out with your wife or the family and you're trying to do strict carnivore? Do you have any strategies, or whenever you guys go out, are you typically like, I'm just going to eat the food here? Or are you usually going into that scenario trying to stay on track? Like, how do you deal with just like normal dining out in general when it's maybe not a special occasion?
Right. So if we're just going out to eat for no real reason, not a special occasion, the best tip I can give anybody is just ask for shit that's not on the menu. Because you're not going to go to every restaurant and they're going to have like a ready-made carnivore meal for you.
Yeah.
But you can actually look on the menu and pick out sides a la carte that are completely carnivore. And a perfect story I have for you is I went to a restaurant in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The cheapest thing on the menu was like 24 bucks. My wife got it. 24 bucks, she had her meal, it was happy. And it was a very small meal.
Hmm.
And I said, "Hey, what do I got to do to get like maybe just 4 over easy eggs and like 2 side orders of bacon?" And they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we can do that." 14 bucks. I got 4 over easy eggs and 6 gigantic strips of thick cut bacon for half the price of my wife's like little meal with like scallops and rice and stuff. So like that happens at a lot of restaurants too. You
Yeah.
can get sides and have a complete carnivore meal when it's not on the menu. You just ask for it.
Yeah. Here's the problem I run into when I eat out, because probably similar to you, I eat a lot of food when I eat. I'm a 2 meal a day guy. And
Mhm.
so when we got, and this happened when my mom was visiting us. We went out to dinner at a nice restaurant, and I was looking at some of these dishes, and it was like for sea bass, it was $60 for a plate of sea bass and whatever was else on there. It was mashed potatoes, and they came out all fancy. But my biggest question to the person is like, how many ounces is this sea bass? Right? Because like,
Four.
yeah, exactly. It's a joke, basically. And so a lot of times what I have to do, to be honest with you, is I'll eat some food before I go to dinner. Like I'll have two dinner.
Mm,
Like I'll have to eat food, and then I will go to dinner with the family, and then I'll eat dinner there. And to some people that might sound ridiculous, but I mean, I'm sorry, the food that you get at a lot of restaurants, it's just not enough food. Now, if you're going to a steak place and you don't care about money and you're gonna, buy like the tomahawk ribeye, yeah, sure, you're gonna have enough food. But like the issue I run into is it's just not enough food and I'm still hungry. And then if I'm still hungry at dinner, if kids get dessert, then I'm crushing on that. But it's like, that's my main problem. But the other thing here is if you're going to like a normal, like, let's call it like a burger place, I'll always double up on the meat. So like if I get
yeah.
like a burger, maybe I'll ask it for it bunless, but I'll ask, even though I do have to pay extra, I would rather pay extra and get like another patty or two more patties than eat the burger and still be hungry and then crush a bunch of other crap that I know is going to make me feel like trash. Like, what are your thoughts on those
Right.
strategies?
I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, you're asking for more of what you actually want,
Yeah.
right? So like, I mean, there's a million ways to go about it with a restaurant. I just always ask for stuff that that's not on the menu and just kind of build your own
Yeah.
meal. But yeah, like if I try to get a steak at a restaurant, which oftentimes I do, I always ask for like a side of bacon instead of all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the steak is still like, you get like an 8-ounce steak and you're like, I could crush three of these.
Yeah.
And it's $60. So yeah, when we go out to eat, I don't necessarily rely on that experience to be my dinner. It's always like, I'm gonna go enjoy myself. I'll have something I can have, but like when I get home, I'm probably gonna have to crush more real food,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but there is this weird thing that I've noticed with the carnivore diet. When you're eating a lot of fatty meat regularly, your hunger level goes way, way down.
True.
So I haven't had lunch in probably 8 or 9 months, and it gives me an hour of time back every single day. So I just have a big, gigantic breakfast, and I'm talking like 16-ounce steak, 4 eggs, and then that holds me over.
To dinner.
I mean, I don't even have to eat dinner. Like I don't get to dinner time and go, fuck, man, I'm dying. Like I need something. It just gives you're satiated, you're sustained. So when you find yourself in one of those situations where you're like, man, if I get the sea bass, I'm going to get 4 ounces of fish and maybe something else I can have with it. But like, it's a tiny amount of food for what I really need. Like that's it. It's easier to get through that because you're not starving.
Oh man, I will tell you this, the one of the main reasons why I'm driven to these like low carb, carnivore-ish uh, eating strategies, it's mainly because you're so damn full. You're not thinking about food, and your day doesn't revolve around food. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, and you said something about like that's you get an hour back in your time. That's what I was saying earlier, that a lot of these diets are liberating. Really, the reason why they're liberating is like yes, it's just the simplicity of I know what I'm going to eat tonight, but also too, you're just not constantly thinking about food. Your life doesn't
Right.
revolve around food. You get so much of your freaking time back because you're just not hungry because you ate something that was nutritious. It had a bunch of protein. It had a bunch of fat or amino acids in it that gave you real nutrients, so you don't need to eat multiple times throughout the day. That was, in my opinion, one of the best parts about being on a diet like this. Is it just your day just doesn't revolve around food.
Right, and it's like so many I go back to the times when wasn't on carnivore and like 12 o'clock would roll around and I'd be like, "What am I having for lunch? Oh, I gotta go figure that out." And then your brain just goes into food mode, And there's so many obstacles that like people just hurdle without even realize they're hurling those all the time. Like if you forget to pack your lunch, like you're kind of screwed. Now you got to eat out. Where are you going to go? How far of a drive is it? How long is that going to take? Will I get stuck in traffic and get back to the office on time?
Yeah.
There's so many like pitfalls
Yeah.
with it. And when I stopped having to have lunch, I was just like, I how does nobody else want that? Like
Yeah.
if you didn't have to eat lunch ever again in your life, you would save, I mean, an hour a day at least of your life. Like, how many hours is that in a lifetime that you just get back where you're not searching for, trying to find food, and then eating something in your car that you probably shouldn't have? Because, like, where are you going to get healthy food out there? I mean, everything that's advertised as healthy is probably not that
Trash.
healthy.
Yeah.
like how many times have people just eaten Chipotle in their car? And it's just like, man,
Yeah.
Chipotle is delicious, but if you didn't have to have Chipotle, like you would just get so much, you'd be so much more efficient as a human.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's probably one of the best the one of the best positives about being on a carnivore diet or carnivore-ish diet is just the satiation, not constantly thinking about food. I agree with you, man. And what's wild is, dude, we're almost up here on time, and I want to be respectful of what you got going on for the rest of your day. I've got some rapid fire questions, but before we go into the rapid fire stuff, I do the rapid fire questions with a lot of the guests at the end of the podcast before we wrap up. But I know obviously we've been talking about the carnivore diet for the majority of the podcast. Like, what do you think people misunderstand the most about carnivore, in your opinion?
That it's expensive.
Mm,
I think it's not as expensive as everybody assumes it is, and it's because you're not spending so much money on the other stuff. I would challenge anybody to look at their monthly statement and see how much money they spent on food out, and then compare that to if could they have bought a chuck roll or a big old ribeye and made a bunch of steaks? Probably. So I think that's it.
yeah, that's a good one. All right, so for the first rapid fire question, what's the biggest lie people believe about the carnivore diet that drives you crazy?
And I don't know if there's a lie. I don't know. Are there lies about it? I think the biggest lie is like you're gonna die. You're not gonna die. Like nobody's died from the carnivore diet. Everybody's like your cholesterol is gonna go through the roof and you're gonna die. Never happens.
What do you say? What do you
Death is
typically
not on the table.
when people leave comments like that? I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot of followers. You'll probably get comments from that like that from time to time, probably from some crazy vegan people. But what do you typically? How do you typically respond when you do get a comment like that about cholesterol?
I just respond honestly. Like my cholesterol, I haven't gotten my blood work done.
I was going
But
to
I
ask you.
know
I was
for a
going to ask
fact.
you about blood work.
Yeah. I actually have it scheduled to do soon, but I know for a fact my cholesterol is going to be high. Uh, and that is naturally going to be that way because you're eating so many fats and proteins.
Hmm.
However, like I follow Sean Baker and Ken Berry, and the studies that they're doing is like high cholesterol when you're on carnivore is not unhealthy. It's not unsafe. It's just the way your body reacts to being on this diet. Your brain's made out of cholesterol, like and fats. Like so, it's just the misconception is when you eat carnivore diet, your blood work's going to go crazy. It's going to clog up your veins and you're going to die. But that is just not true. It actually clears up your veins. All the vein things like that's from like the vegan diet, and I'm not hating on vegans at all, but like a lot of that stuff is happens with that diet.
Yeah.
There's nobody's ever had any kind of super mal effects from eating meat. It's not out there. It's not real.
Yeah, and there's some good people out there doing research on cholesterol. Are you familiar at all with Dave Feldman?
I haven't followed him too much.
So he's an engineer that actually studies cholesterol. So a lot of the engineers are pretty good at figuring out like I think he has a website called the Cholesterol Code. But he does all these crazy experiments on himself. But a lot of the engineers that I've spoken with, and just in terms of like diet, the human body, right? Because they have like a systems brain, and the body kind of works a lot like a system, right? And
Yeah.
so He's got some good stuff on cholesterol. If just for the listeners out there, if they want more information on cholesterol, or Dave Feldman, I think his website is cholesterolcode.com. He's got a lot of good, like crazy, all these different studies that he's done on cholesterol, and he does all these different studies with olive oil and meat and all that type of stuff. But anyways, what I was going to say was going back to what you were saying about the blood marker stuff and cholesterol specifically, your body makes cholesterol. And then what happens is if your body senses that you have cholesterol coming in through the diet, your body's going to lower that cholesterol down. Like it's going to stop making it if it senses you're bringing it in. So the cool thing about the human body, it has all these like self-regulating features that come along with it to kind of protect you, you know? But yeah,
Yeah.
cholesterol is like a critical hormone, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. If someone had just $20 to spend on carnivore meals for the week, what would you tell them to buy?
Ground beef. $20, go get yourself some ground beef, maybe a carton of eggs, and mix that up, add salt to it, and you're good to go. If you eat ground beef and eggs, you're carnivore, you're going to be just fine. And just get the fatty stuff, get the 80-20, not the 93-7.
Yeah, and I actually go for the leaner side. Sometimes when things are too fatty, I'm heading for the bathroom. But the one thing I
Yeah.
do like about just getting like packaged ground beef that comes in like the 1 pound bricks, it's like you can just plop that into a pan. It takes like 5, 7 minutes to I cook it on a wok. I just stir it up, throw in the spices, whatever, salt, pepper, or whatever it is. And like, dude, it's a pound of meat. Like a pound of meat is really satiating. It's gonna have, almost 100 grams of protein, depending on how lean it is, 50, 40 grams of fat or more than that. But like, it's a solid meal to get a bunch of protein and for sure. And it's super easy to make
Oh yeah,
and
I love it.
versatile.
Ground beef is your saving grace if you're starting carnivore on a super budget.
Yep. What's the,
Yep.
what's the hardest part about eating carnivore that nobody talks about?
Oh, just your surroundings, the people that you're around, the temptations, seeing Cheez-Its in my freaking cabinet every day. Like that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Like just being able to stick with it because we live in a world of complete temptation. Everything around us is designed to get us to screw up and do something we shouldn't do. Like that, yeah,
Yeah.
just just the temptations all the time, just right there in your face.
What's one carnivore food people think is healthy, but you'd never touch being on the carnivore diet?
Carnivore food that people think is healthy, but I would never touch. I don't know.
Well, I know.
I don't know that there is a carnivore food, like a carnivore diet approved food that isn't healthy. I wouldn't touch um milk. I don't drink milk,
Mhm.
but a lot of people have issues with dairy. It's it's made for babies.
Yeah.
Like milk is for babies. So that's probably the thing that I would say I don't do.
Yeah, and just to twist that question up a little bit, the one thing that I wish I could eat, but there's two things. One is anchovies. They're really healthy for you. I can't do them. Like
Oh yeah.
the canned sardines that people will take down. I I can't do it.
You'll never catch me eating sardines either.
And the same, and honestly, I hate saying it, but liver, I have tried so many times. I don't know if you've ever tried going the liver route or figuring out ways to cook it. I've tried so many ways to cook liver. Man, it's just every time I eat it, and I know it's so healthy for you. It Every time I put it in my mouth, it feels like my body. If my body is telling me don't eat this, basically, it's
Yeah.
so hard to take down. Have you tried liver?
Yes. So I have had the same struggles as you.
Yeah,
I can't just eat a liver and just call that dinner.
yeah.
But what I've noticed I'm able to do is if you kind of treat it like a supplement or like a medicine, you can cook a little piece of liver with your steak and eggs or whatever,
Hmm.
and then just pick up a piece of steak, maybe some egg yolk, and just choke that piece of liver down. If that makes you feel better about getting more nutrients and stuff in there, and do that every now and then, you're good to go. Yeah, but you won't catch me just, hey, what's for dinner? Liver. That's it.
Yeah,
No way.
no way. And I've tried a couple other things because I know it's so good for you. So over the past, like I've tried cutting it up into chunks and just swallowing it, like just tossing it back with a glass of water or something, and just doing it in small little chunks. Also, what I've done is cut it up and weighed it out and like made basic like little pills, and then you freeze them. And I made like bags of frozen liver pills, like with real liver. And then I would take them out and I would like throw them in my mouth and swallow it like a pill. And it would just be like taking a
Yeah.
pill. That's the only way I found that I can do it. Like cooking it, eating it normal. Like it is, my mom makes liver and onions and I'm like, can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah,
It's,
I mean, dude, the way that you've described that is probably what I would start doing because like I choose to take creatine,
yeah.
and a lot of people dump creatine and they swirl it around and drink it. I freaking hate that. I dry scoop it,
You
so I
dry
just
scoop
go. I put
creatine?
a oh yeah, dude. I take a little bit of water, I put it in my mouth, I scoop a creatine, I go wash it down with a little bit, shake my head, and just like mix it around in my mouth, and I swallow it, and it's like it was never even in there. I don't even taste it or nothing.
Is it flavored or is yours flavored or unflavored?
Completely unflavored.
Man, I would assume that would be like taking in a mouthful of chalk.
Yeah, no, it actually dissolves. You got to get the sugar, the consistency that's sugar. That's the best creatine to dissolve. If you get the like the real powdery
That's what I
stuff,
got.
that sucks.
Okay.
Yeah, if you get, I do Optimum Nutrition micronized creatine,
Okay.
and it's like the sugar consistency, and that's what I take. And it's dry scooping is so much easier than it seems.
Yeah. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, I mean, this has been awesome. Before we start wrapping up here, like anything new coming up for you that you want to touch on, like anything crazy going on with work or Instagram?
Man, I don't know. I think I'm just like I think I'm trying to figure out how I can make a bigger impact in this space. And there's so many million things to do. Like, what's the end goal? Who knows? But I do notice that meat prices are going way up, like way
I
up.
saw your
And
post.
I
I saw
noticed,
your post the other day on that. It was wild.
yeah, and it's kind of depressing because that's a super easy reason for people to be like, I'm going to eat less meat now. I just can't afford it, and that sucks. And I think there's some things that I want to do later in life, um, where I want to start making content or videos or something, asking questions on how we can solve that problem in the world. Because I'm not a super smart guy, but I do know that all of the companies like General Mills and Kellogg's and companies like that have this huge demand. They're selling a lot of products. Therefore, they were able to build an infrastructure to get this product to people at a very, very low cost. And I think the meat industry is just a little bit behind on that because it's not as huge of a demand because of all the research that was demonizing it for such a long time. And I kind of want to take that and reverse it
Mm.
and start knocking down cornfields and putting in cattle fields somehow. I mean, I want to be able to throw my hat in the ring, not necessarily become a rancher because I don't know if that's really something I can feasibly do,
Hmm.
but to be able to invest in that somehow and figure out a way to get meat out to people at a price that's affordable or make some sort of impact in the infrastructure space. Like that's my big like sun goal. That's like it's way out there. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but yeah, I believe in this way of eating so much that I would definitely go down that route and investigate how to figure that out.
Well, I hope you do it, man. You'll have a supporter and someone over here rooting for you, man. So if you end up going that route, keep us updated, make posts about it. I hope that's something that you do because that would be cool.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you having me, dude. This has been a blast.
Yeah, it's been a blast. So where can people find you online and get in contact with you, all of that stuff, or follow you?
You can just Yeah, you can go to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Ben.Guiles, I think is my handle. And I have a link tree and stuff. You guys can check that out. I'm trying to build a store with like vetted carnivore products in it that I actually know, like, and trust and use. And then yeah, trying to just grow the space. So just find me online. That's where I live.
Yeah, and not to worry, I can drop all that stuff in the show notes so people know like where to find you and follow you and all that good stuff. So I got you covered there. And Thanks, guys, for listening to the Low Carb Consultant Podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next one.